Welcome back to Starting Lineup. We shift our attention to some superstars returning to the UAAP after serving their residency period. Still here with us to tackle the exciting developments is UAAP analyst Diego Dario.
It's getting near.
Yeah,
Already
let's
2
go.
weeks ago.
Let's
Listen,
go.
2 weeks. I can't imagine that UAP is here and I'm not.
Right, and there's so many players that we're looking forward to seeing returning, right, CC?
Right? I think the transferees right now, they've
gotta
served
talk
their
about the
residency.
transferees.
You have to.
Well, I mean, when you talk about the transferees, first name that comes up to mind is Rey Remogat. We haven't seen this guy in the UAP, in a year or two.
Yeah.
But, it's going to be exciting because, coming off a championship with Kagolangan leading the way last season, now you have this new guy in Remogat coming from UE trying to lead a championship team, which is going to be tough, right?
Tough.
His
That's
averages
tough.
were 16.5 points per game, 6 rebounds, and almost 8 assists when he was with UE.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair to expect him to have the same numbers because it's a totally different team and he's not going to be the focal point on offense. But that also doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to be valuable for this team.
Right.
He's always going to be a threat. He's a great playmaker. And a different look when it comes to comparing him and JD Kagolangan, talking about being the main point guards of this team.
Right, we're seeing highlights of Rey Remogat back in his Red Warrior days. Played 2 years there. As you mentioned, sat a year out, but now, what could change for Rey Remogat in terms of the style of play? As you mentioned, hindi ganong kapareho yung role niya kasi ang lalim ng UP.
Right.
So what could he do this season?
Well, when I watched the preseason games of UP, you can still see the previous Rey Remogat in him, but more of a facilitator. And, he's letting go of that ball more because you have a lot of creators in UP talking about Harold Alarcon, guys like Jerry Abadiano, but he's not getting the same volume of shots and he's not handling the ball all the time.
Yeah.
But you can still see the decision makings there, a great point guard.
Yeah.
And defensively, he's trying his best to go up against these bigger, tougher guards in the UAP.
Yeah. Now we move to Taft. I think aside from Katipunan, we have a lot of movement in
Biyahe
Taft.
tayo, biyahe.
So with Mason Amos, what are your thoughts on what his role is going to be?
Well, you mentioned Katipunan. He basically traveled from Katipunan to Taft. He took the LRT. But
the LRT too, all the
when
way
you
down.
talk about Mason Amos, it's going to be a very different look, I think. We're not going to be seeing these numbers talking about Mason, 8 points per game and 3 rebounds. I think he's going to be utilized more in LaSalle because offensively they love those kinds of bigs wherein they shoot from the outside. He's taking more shots also in the preseason and he's having more minutes. That's basically it compared to his Ateneo days wherein Mason was maybe getting around 15, 16 minutes per game.
Yeah.
So limited touches for Mason and Ateneo, but I feel like in LaSalle, he's getting utilized more offensively rather than defensively.
You see him taking somewhat the role of KQ. Alam natin, this is the first season without Kevin Kiambao.
Yeah.
So Mason Amos also had a stint in Japan where they had the tournament, made it to the finals. But do you think pwede niyang punan yung role na yan ni KQ? In a way, kasi nga, I'm sure first year niya with LaSalle, may mga expectations yung mga tao.
Of course.
I think when it comes to putting that ball in the basket, I think yes. He's definitely a high shot maker percentage-wise from the outside. He also has that post game. But I think it's tough to say that he's going to be like, the next KQ or he's going to be also a playmaker because it's not. This is a totally different LaSalle team wherein they have guards like, Jacob Cortez and Kean Baclaan who we're going to be talking about later on. But, it's not going to be centered around Mason Amos. It's still going to be guard heavy, which is a totally different case from last season of LaSalle wherein KQ was the main playmaker.
Yeah, you mentioned Kean Baclaan, so another transfer from NU.
Right.
What do you think his role is going to be, especially now that they have a two-guard? It's almost like a two-point guard back to that lineup.
Well, honestly, when I heard about the news of Jacob Cortez and Kean Baclaan playing together, I thought Kean was going to be, the typical type of point guard wherein he's going to bring down the ball, going to be the playmaker, and give Jacob Cortez more shots. But that's not the case. in the preseason, he's taking the shots.
Yeah.
He's staying true to his game, those step back jumpers. Even when there's a hand up, he's still going to make those kinds of shots. And I think Kean Baclaan is going to be one of those guys wherein when it's clutch time, when it's crunch time in the UAP, he's not going to be afraid of those moments and getting that ball, making something happen, and even making those big shots. I think he has that confidence in him, that dog in him.
That's practically having a CC or Diego Dario in your team, di ba?
More like a CC.
Someone who can,
the
of
winning
course,
mentality.
get the clutch shot, get the shot for the win. But speaking of his confidence, saan mo nakita yung level of confidence niya? I mean, from NU, do you think in this break for Kean Baclaan, umangat palalo? Kasi we're seeing highlights also of what he's been doing off-season.
Right.
You think pagdating ng UAAP, it's a notch higher pa for Kean Baclaan?
Well, when you talk about Kean, you can just see that he loves the game. Whether he's playing in the preseason games, whether he's playing Ligang Labas, or he's playing with his friends, he has the same type of competitiveness, whether he's up against a UAP guy or someone from his barangay. We can see like he's not letting his guard down, and that's the type of point guard that usually thrives in the UAP because you kind of need that kind of confidence to show up in the big stage, especially in the UAP.
As a point guard, do you see anything he might run into, any struggles he might come into when it comes to UAAP?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, in the UAP, there would be games, and CC, for sure you know this, that you would have a slump. Maybe one or two games that you would maybe just make one shot out of 9, one shot out of 10. And he takes a lot of shots. And I think that's going to be one of his challenges, right? You know, in NU before, like, it doesn't matter if he takes those kinds of shots, he has all the green light. But here in LaSalle, he has so many different teammates wherein, okay, if I'm not shooting the ball very well, what can I do to contribute to the team? That's going to be the challenge for him, becoming that true point guard. And also, leading up to the next game, he has a bad game, how does he bounce back right away? Because UAP, you just play, 14 games, and you can have multiple bad games if you want to win a championship.
And he might run into big guys such as this one, Collins Akowe, who's not really coming back but moving up from NU as well. Now will suit up for the Growling Tigers. What can you say about yung expectations natin for Collins Akowe? He was dominant back in high school.
Well, technically, you can call him still a transferee, of course, coming from the NU program now for UST, but you've seen him. I've seen him in the preseason leagues, and he's huge. Even coming from the high school level, he doesn't have a problem with the physicality.
Yeah,
he's not having a problem with the height because he's already big. But I think when it comes to development and skill, you can see that he needs work on maybe putting the ball down the floor, finishing through contact. But you can see that he has that desire of trying to get better. But, you know, he's had some 20-point, 20-rebound games in the preseason as a freshman. So that's going to be a good sign for UST because, you know, he has 5 years to play. That's going to be tough.
And definitely a welcome sight for UST who did not have a foreign student athlete last season. So, malamang maraming minutes yan si Collins Akowe. What else can we expect just in general for UAAP Season 88? Less than 2 weeks, or less than 3 weeks rather, opening ceremony and then games na sa UST.
Hey, it's going to be very exciting. I mean, UP LaSalle's up there already, of course, always, you know, contending for that championship. But we have a lot of dark horses.
I was going to say, there are some sleepers this year. Like, you can't say that somebody's like the sure favorite, which every year you can't really.
Exactly, especially like, you know, that Final Four. You know, you have NU there, always a dark horse.
Always a dark horse.
They have their FSA coming back. You have UST, as we mentioned, Collins Akowe is there. We haven't seen Ateneo in a lot of preseason games, and I feel like they're hiding.
I feel like they're hiding.
Right?
There's something in the bag, I've heard.
So, you know, a lot of these teams have something, you know, prepared for the upcoming season, and it's going to be so exciting this season.
And we can't wait. We can't wait to pick your brains as well. Come UAAP time, guys. See you in less than 3 weeks for UAAP Season 88. Thank you, Jegs, for breaking down all FIBA and UAAP with us.